By choosing to abandon China and go into business with Israel, President William Ruto is putting Kenyans and himself in a very sticky situation. Number one, many African countries today are being warned against forging any deep ties with Israel because Israel, as we all know, is a current colonizer. In fact, it's the last country in the world that is still putting the people of Palestine through apartheid, through racial discrimination, through unspeakable horrors within their own borders. And Ruto, a self-proclaimed Christian, has gone there to kiss their hands and ask for money and borrow more. But while the danger of borrowing still remains, the bigger threat from Ruto's recent decisions and trips to the Israeli country will be upsetting China and the AU. Because a few weeks ago, South Africa voted to reduce significantly how much it related with Israel. Because in Israel, there is a systemic racist discrimination system going on where the Israelis who came to the Middle East in the 1940s are displacing, killing, and persecuting Palestinians who are Muslims who they found there and displaced because they are stronger and they are being backed by all those Western countries. Ruto's decision to abandon China means we are upsetting someone who we owe close to $1 billion. We are upsetting someone who exports $5 billion worth of goods into our country every year, probably the biggest single country exporter to Kenya. We are upsetting someone who has given us loans without concessions, someone who has given us loans while we still had loans that we had not paid them in bailouts. That was in 2019 and after. We are upsetting China, who is evidently growing to be the next economic power, not just in the East, but even in the global South. We are upsetting China when everybody is trying to get into better books with China. We are moving closer to the West, who have always looked to exploit us. While China may be argued to also be exploiting us, the levels of benefits we get from the Chinese quote-unquote exploitation are way higher than what we could benefit, say, from working with Israel, who exports 47 million US dollars compared to China, who brings 5 billion. Just compare those two numbers and tell me which one would be wiser. And why are we saying that we are upsetting China by going to Israel? Israel is a very bullish country. They are bullies on the international stage, and they are bullies because they are largely backed by Europe and the Americas, some other bigger bullies. But China has taken a position on Palestine and the continued occupation of Israel in contentious areas like the Gaza Strip and other areas where there has been conflict, and Israel is clearly being pointed at as the persecutor, as the guy who is putting his boot on the neck of the other guy who's already on the ground. So the financial implication of continuing to alienate the Chinese will only mean that the Chinese get angry. It will only mean the Chinese put their foot down harder on us in terms of repaying their loans. And we had that last year, 1.2 trillion that was collected from the taxpayers was equivalent to the amount of money that was payable to loaners and loan sharks who are coming in asking for money. And Ruto is now going to the IMF to add on top of loans instead of going to China to try to again restructure what we owe them and look for better opportunities for us to continuously benefit from the thriving giant commercial relations we have with China, while at the same time servicing their loans. We are upsetting them, we are going to their enemies, and at the same time triggering what we don't know from Beijing. And that could be very dangerous, because if we were to choose between China, Israel, and America and the IMF and choose who are we going to upset, who can we afford to upset, we cannot afford to upset China right now. And William Ruto is going to continue making these mistakes, but many, even in the economic world, feel that he will not be allowed to make these mistakes much longer, because as the economy continues to make wrong turns, who knows, maybe Kenyans will be fed up and throw him off the state house. Let's wait and see what transpires.